Hello and welcome to Tim Conley Drums. Welcome to 2025. Happy New Year. Today I have a very interesting story about an old bandmate, and we're just going to call him Charlie. And it's a very interesting story about Charlie. Charlie was a world-class fighter. He was a silver medalist in the World Jui Jitsu Championships, and he was into bodybuilding and weightlifting, and the guy could handle himself, to say the least. Now, Charlie was, an elite athlete. Being at the World Championships in Jiu-Jitsu, you're obviously a highly trained and skilled fighter. But unfortunately, Charlie was flawed, and his flaw was his arrogance and cockiness. He really thought that he was a very tough guy. Now, he was a tough guy. No doubt about it. You don't get to become the silver medalist at the World Jiu-Jitsu Championships without being a very, confident and talented martial artist. Now, the only problem is that, he would always walk around with this puffy chest, and he wanted everybody to know that he was the toughest guy around. And while I enjoyed Charlie's company and I did like him, he was a good guitar player and I enjoyed being around him. This level of arrogance that he had was undeniably his downfall. Now, he was an amateur guitar player. I did play in a band with him, but he was an amateur. He was not a professional. We never toured, nothing like that. He was a weekend warrior, but he was a decent guitar player. So, I don't care if you're a full-time pro or you're a weekend warrior. If you can play, I'll play with you in a band. Not a problem. It's skill level more so than, whether you're pro or semi-pro or whatever. Anyways, Charlie got himself into a little bit of trouble one night. I should say a lot of trouble. He was out at a strip club, and he let his arrogance get the best of him. He was with a couple of his friends. I knew these guys as well. And he was in a strip club, having a few beers, enjoying himself like, many of us have, no big deal. But he made a fatal mistake. And the fatal mistake he made was he touched one of the dancers. And as most of you guys probably know, you don't do that. I wasn't there. I don't know the exact circumstances of what exactly went down. I was told this story by another one of my friends who is also a world-class jiu-jitsu fighter. And he told me the story because he was Charlie's coach and mentor. So he knew exactly what happened because he got it from Charlie. So anyways, what ended up happening was he touched one of these dancers. She then went and complained to a bouncer that she'd been touched by a patron inappropriately and she wanted him removed. Okay, so Charlie knew he's not supposed to be touching these girls, but his arrogance and his tough guy attitude, he figured nobody's going to kick me out of here. There's not a guy in this bar or strip club that I can't take. He had that kind of an attitude in a fight. So bouncer comes over, tells him he's got to leave. He says he's not leaving. Confrontation takes place and the bouncer gets knocked out. Charlie knocks him out. So then, Charlie, I don't know exactly how this happened, but he was removed forcibly by 4 bouncers who happened to be bikers. And they got into an altercation outside, and Charlie thought he's going to fight all 4 of them. Again, the ego, the arrogance. And from what I was told, he actually held his own for quite some time against 4 or 5 guys. But eventually they got the best of him. They got him down. They started laying the boots to him, and he was severely injured. I know that he had a broken cheek. I think he got a tooth knocked out because I went and visited him in the hospital. He had some spleen, pancreas, and liver damage. So that is serious, serious stuff. When they got him down and they laid the boots to him, he had some serious organ injuries. He was in the hospital for 2 to 4 weeks after this altercation. And I know when I went and saw him, he didn't really tell me. I heard it from his coach, who was also my friend, like I said. His coach told me the story. I didn't actually ask Charlie what happened in terms of the fight because I really didn't think he wanted to talk about it too much. I was just there to see him, make sure he's okay. Like I said, he spent quite a long time in the hospital recovering. After he got out of the hospital, he was a changed man, to say the least. I didn't see him too much for quite a while after he got out of the hospital. It took him a long, long time to recover from those injuries, months and months of recovery. And obviously, he wasn't training in the gym. He wasn't training in jiu-jitsu. And I knew him from both. I knew him from the gym because I used to be a competitive bodybuilder. And I also knew him from the jiu-jitsu dojo because I was also interested, and I wasn't competitive like Charlie, but I enjoyed being involved in a martial arts club. Plus, the owner of the martial arts club I had known all my life. So he gave me free run of the place. I never officially paid, so I never actually received any belts. But I would say I probably achieved up to a brown belt level, but I never officially was given a brown belt or even a white belt for that matter, because I never paid. I was given a free membership and a free run of the place. So because of that, I never, had any official indoctrination into the Jiu-Jitsu club itself. And I was not involved in Jiu-Jitsu Canada or Jiu-Jitsu Ontario or anything like that. So I was just there having fun, but I enjoyed being there. So that's how I knew Charlie, and that's how I knew his coach. And I also knew him because of obviously the guitar playing and playing in the band. Now, I know that Charlie recovered. He was beaten badly, like he almost died because of the injuries that he sustained in that sort of a thing. But he changed dramatically afterwards. When he finally did return to the gym and whatnot, he was humbled something fierce. I've never seen anyone change as much as he changed. He no longer strutted around the gym, in this big tough guy attitude. He stopped going out to bars completely. He did not have any interest in getting out in bars because I remember him telling me it's just not worth it. He just does not want to get himself into that situation again. It really scared him, and I don't blame him. It would scare any of us. When you get beat within an inch of your life, it has a tendency to change you. Now, as far as the jiu-jitsu goes, he did continue to train. I don't think he reached, the status that he had previously reached, but he did continue to train and compete and whatnot, but he was not at the same level that he was at. I think that part of his success was his arrogance to some degree. And now that he'd been deflated considerably, I think it changed his attitude towards the competitions as well. I think it scared him to the point where he didn't even really want to be competing at a really high level. I'm sort of guessing there, but I do know that he certainly lessened his training, and his motivation seemed to drop after being in that situation. Plus, like I said, it took him he was out of the training situation for a long time, and he got out of shape. And I'm sure trying to get back into shape to compete on the world stage is a very difficult thing. So I don't think he ever repeated his success in going to the world championships, but he did continue to train and whatnot, but just at a much lower level. Now, the sad part is that his whole attitude changed because of what happened to him. I sincerely wish that he never had this happen to him. But at the same time, and this is sort of coming from him, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise. Now, I know that no near-death beating by a gang of bikers is a blessing in disguise, but I know that it changed him, and in his view, it changed him for the better. That's coming from him. Now, I had a tendency to agree with him a little bit. Like I said to the coach, I'm really terribly sad that Charlie had this happen to him, but at the same time, it's almost like sometimes when your head is in the clouds, you need somebody to yank you out of the clouds and ground you. And this is what happened. He was grounded by this horrible thing that happened to him. And it was a dramatic change. He just stayed at home with his wife. He trained. He started going back to the gym. It took him a long time to get back into the gym and whatnot. And then, of course, with me being a touring musician in and out of the gym, I wasn't consistently there. And I wasn't consistently at the dojo because I would be off playing and whatnot. I sort of ran out of touch with Charlie and the coach, both of them actually. I haven't seen either one of them in a long, long time. Now, I did run into the coach a little while ago, and I asked him how Charlie was. He said Charlie's doing good, and I think he has a family, and he's really, bounced back positively from a horrible incident. So, guys, I know this isn't the bright and shiny 2025 story start that maybe you wanted to hear, but I wanted to get this story out because there may be some of you out there that could learn from this and how you can avoid this situation, because it doesn't matter how tough you are. You can be Bruce Lee. There's always going to be somebody or a group of people that you run into and you're going to regret that you ever ran into them. The world's a crazy, crazy place. Now, this took place a long time ago. This is back in the 90s that this took place. So I'm doing this, telling you this story all from memory. It's quite an old story, but I really wanted to share this story with you guys because I think it's not only a story that's, obviously horrific and sad, but it's also a story that needs to be heard so that people can learn from what happened to Charlie, because it should never have happened to him. If he had just, his ego had been deflated a little bit, and he had said, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have touched that girl. And he's going to get kicked out regardless, but he should have just got up and he should have just left. He should not have gotten himself into a fighting situation, because as we all know, when you're competing in a boxing ring, in the World Jui Jitsu Championship ring, there's referees there, there's doctors there, you've got immediate assistance. Nobody is going to beat you to death. There's going to be somebody that's going to stop the fight before it gets crazy. But in a street fight, in a real life situation, there is nobody necessarily, maybe friends, but in this situation, the friends were being held back from what I understand. They were not involved in the fight and they could not help Charlie. He got the living shit kicked out of him and there was nothing anybody could do. I'm pretty sure that an ambulance came, took him to the hospital. I don't think the police were involved. Now that really bothers me. He never told the police. He just took his lickings and went on his way. But I believe the police definitely should have been involved. But as far as I know, the police were never involved. So that part of the story really actually bothered me. And, I remember talking to Charlie about it and him just saying he just wanted to, recover from his injuries and move on because he felt that he brought this on. Now, I agree and disagree with him. Yes, he brought it on in the sense that he knocked out a bouncer, but the fact that 4 or 5 cowards beat the crap out of him, they should have just grabbed him and threw him out or called the police on him for that matter. I'm not saying I want to see my friend go to jail, but he did the wrong thing. But these guys decided to take out their vengeance immediately, which was to beat him mercilessly. So very, very tragic situation. But I do know that he's recovered, he's fine, and he moved on with his life. And like I said, massive change to his personality. So that's my story, my first story of 2025. Not the happiest story, but I told it because I would really, really want to see if if there's somebody out there that, walking around that that's like this, maybe they can learn from this. Maybe if you're actually watching this and you're someone that likes to get into altercations, maybe this will make you think twice. For me, I don't go out and get myself involved in any street fights in any way, shape, or form. I avoid that like the plague. I'm freaking 60 years old in a couple months, so I'm definitely not out there looking to get into any punch-ups. Now, I have had incidents, which I'm not going to get into today, but I have had incidents at gigs where things have gone ugly, and I've had to defend myself a couple of times, but that is a story for another day. I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I want to thank you for all your recent comments, and I want you to check out my latest video, Ace Drum Tour in Port Charlotte, Florida, because I just got back from Florida, and I'm hoping to get 2025 rolling with some cool video. So please stick around and subscribe, like, comment, and I will see you guys very soon. As always, keep drumming. See ya.